When you step outside your home today, you don't think twice about where you're going. You have road signs, GPS, and digital maps in your pocket. But thousands of years ago, even knowing what direction you were facing could be a matter of life or death. So today, I want to take you on a journey into the minds of the first humans who tried to understand something enormous: the world around them. This is the story of how we learned to map our world, how lines on clay, stone, and paper helped us survive, expand, and connect, how maps transformed human civilization. Welcome to Genesis of Genius, where maps truly begin long before civilization, long before kings, cities, ships, and empires. Humans were explorers. We roamed forests, crossed rivers, hunted animals, and searched for new food every season. We needed to remember where the water was, where predators lurked, and where we had been before. And so, the very first maps were not drawn on paper. They were recorded inside the brain, stored in collective memory, shared through story and direction. But memory can fail. What if the only hunter who knew the route was killed? Humanity needed something permanent, something you could see, something you could trust. That moment, when thought became a symbol, is where maps began. Archaeologists have discovered markings carved into bone and stone from nearly 25,000 years ago. Sequences of lines believed to represent animal migration paths, seasonal routes, safe shelters, freshwater sources. They were simple: dots, lines, scratches. But behind those lines was strategy. Human brains were learning a skill we now call spatial representation, seeing the land as a picture without physically being there. That mental leap was a turning point in human evolution. The oldest recognized map in human history, found in Czech Republic, known as the Pavlov map, about 25,000 years old, drawn of a river valley, showing hills and water routes. Imagine that. Stone Age hunters planning their movement with a map. They weren't guessing anymore. They were calculating. Then came a transformation that needed maps more than ever: the birth of agriculture, permanent settlements, land ownership, irrigation systems. Maps gave structure to society. They helped humans claim, divide, and manage land. Instead of surviving day to day, we were now building futures. The world takes shape. Mesopotamia leads the way. Civilization ignited in the Fertile Crescent, and with it, the first advanced maps. Babylonian maps carved onto clay tablets show city blocks, boundaries, rivers, roads, fields. Around 600 BCE, Babylonians created the first known world map, the Imago Mundi, flatland rivers like spokes, outer ocean encircling everything limited. Yes, but it shows one extraordinary idea. Humans were trying to understand the entire world. The Greeks turned maps into science. Then came a civilization obsessed with knowledge. The ancient Greeks revolutionized maps using geometry, mathematics, checkmark, astronomy. They asked deeper questions. How big is Earth? What shape is it? How far is one place from another? And they answered them. While many believed Earth was flat, Greek scientists like Eratosthenes, around 240 BCE, calculated Earth's circumference, using only shadows and simple math, with error less than 1% of modern measurement. That single discovery changed maps forever. For the first time in history, humans could chart a round planet. Greeks invented latitude and longitude, an invisible grid wrapping Earth. Suddenly, seas became highways, not barriers. Trade routes expanded. Exploration gained purpose. Maps were no longer art. They were navigation tools. This was how the Mediterranean connected. Empires rose because they knew where to go. Romans make maps practical. The Roman Empire wasn't interested in curiosity. They wanted military control, and maps became their weapon. Roman maps focused on roads, military camps, supply lines, borders of the empire. Their most famous surviving map, Tabula Peutingeriana, a long road map of the empire stretching thousands of kilometers. It wasn't for discovery. It was about ruling the world. Maps now carried power. Knowledge lost, then reborn. When Rome fell, much scientific knowledge in Europe collapsed, but maps continued to evolve in the Middle East and Asia. Arab scholars refined Greek geography. Chinese cartographers mapped vast territories early. Polynesian navigators mastered open ocean mapping using stars and waves. Their contributions are massive, and we will honor them later in the script. But in Europe, Maps entered what historians call the Age of Faith. Instead of measuring Earth, they focused on holy lands, biblical stories, and spiritual geography. The world became symbolic, not scientific. A new dawn approaches, but that was about to change, because humans were preparing to do something bold, something dangerous. They would sail into the unknown, not because they were lost, but because maps gave them courage, and soon, those maps would redraw the world. As the Middle Ages progressed, something remarkable was brewing quietly in the background. Trade was expanding, curiosity was growing, and humans were asking bigger questions again. Even while Europe struggled in darkness, knowledge survived, preserved by scholars elsewhere. Around the 8th to 14th centuries, cities like Baghdad, Cordoba, and Damascus became the beating heart of science and cartography. Islamic scholars didn't just copy Greek maps, they corrected them. They refined calculations. They measured real distances through travel. They mapped the known world with accuracy. One standout name, Al-Idrisi. In 1154, he produced one of the most advanced maps of his time, the Tabula Rogeriana, a detailed map of Eurasia and North Africa. Based on traveler accounts and scientific observation, his work influenced geography for centuries. While Europe slept, others were pushing mapping forward. The compass revolution. Another quiet invention would change everything. The magnetic compass, developed in China and later adopted in the Islamic world and Europe. Suddenly, sailors could navigate without seeing the coast. This one tool unlocked the entire ocean. No more guessing, no more praying to hit land. Now, direction had certainty. By the 13th century, Mediterranean sailors in Europe began using portolan charts, detailed coastlines, harbor locations, wind directions, compass lines crossing the map. These maps weren't concerned with religion. They were built for survival and trade. The world was shifting from faith to exploration. Then came one of the boldest eras in human history, the Age of Exploration. Driven by a hunger for spices gold, power new trade routes. Nations built ships and hired navigators to push into the unknown. Some sailed west, believing Earth was round enough to come out on the other side. Maps gave them confidence, even when the maps were wrong. The moment when maps broke reality. When Christopher Columbus set sail in 1492, his map was flawed. He believed Asia was just across the Atlantic. Instead, he stumbled on an entire unknown continent to Europeans. Over the next century, Americas were charted, rivers explored, coastlines mapped, indigenous knowledge recorded and often exploited. Europe's view of the world shattered and rebuilt. By the late 1500s, maps finally began to look familiar to us today. The world was no longer a myth. It was a measurable reality. There was one big problem. How do you draw a round planet on a flat piece of paper? Enter the man who created one of the most famous maps ever, Gerardus Mercator. In 1569, he invented a projection that preserved accurate angles, helped sailors navigate long distances, made mapping oceans possible. His map was not perfect. It distorted the size of land near the poles. But for navigation, it was genius. Mercator helped explorers truly connect the world. Maps become knowledge for the people, while explorers expanded the edges of the map. Another invention made maps accessible. The printing press, invented by Gutenberg around 1440 instead of rare hand-drawn charts. Maps could now be copied faster, spread wider, studied by everyone. Knowledge left the hands of elites and entered the hands of the public. Empires grew stronger because maps told them what they owned and what they wanted to conquer. Maps became political tools, territory, borders, and power. By the 1600s to 1800s, wars were won using maps, colonies were claimed using maps, indigenous lands were divided by rulers far away. Entire cultures were erased from the page. Maps were no longer just science. They were weapons. A line drawn by a ruler's pen could destroy a civilization, and that dark side of mapping still shapes our world today. Exploration continued, but accuracy was still a problem. Until triangulation, surveyors learned to measure Earth by tracking angles, creating reference triangles, using mathematics to lock locations. This allowed exact borders, reliable road maps, land ownership documents, city planning on a new scale. The world was becoming organized. Humans weren't just living on Earth anymore. We were designing it. By the 19th century, maps expanded beyond geography. Scientists began mapping ocean currents, weather patterns, population density, languages, natural resources, even disease outbreaks. Maps became windows into knowledge itself. They no longer just reflected the world. They explained it. A new age dawns. Again, so far, humans had mapped what they could walk, what they could sail, what they could measure, what they could imagine, but soon we would map something unimaginable, the entire planet from above. This next leap would change mapping forever, because the moment humans learned to fly was the moment we gained a new perspective, a view of the world only gods once had. For thousands of years, humans explored the world from the ground. We walked it, we sailed it, we measured it, but then we left the ground behind, and from above, the world looked different. We realized the Earth is not just a place we live in, it is a place we can analyze. This moment ushered in the modern age of mapping. In the early 1900s, airplanes changed everything. Pilots and photographers captured images from the sky, entire cities, mountains, coastlines, roads, and rivers. For the first time ever, maps were not drawn by imagination or stories or sailors' guesses. They were drawn by reality. The view from above was pure truth. Governments saw the power immediately. Military strategy, planning new cities. Resource management, disaster response. Maps were becoming intelligence. Then came the biggest revolution of all. Humans launched machines into space. Early satellites like Sputnik opened the door. Soon after, satellites started photographing Earth, every coast, every desert, every ice sheet. Now we weren't mapping tiny pieces at a time. We were mapping the entire planet again and again every day. From this moment on, no more blank spaces, no unknown continents, no monsters at the edge of the map. The world was fully revealed. GPS, position becomes perfect. But satellites didn't just take pictures, they also sent signals back down, signals that could pinpoint any location on Earth. This technology became what we call GPS, Global Positioning System. It began as a military tool. Then one day, GPS was open to the world, and suddenly, we always know where we are. We can go anywhere confidently. Getting lost is almost impossible. Every phone, every car, every ship, every airplane is now guided by satellites circling above us. We became a connected species. Then came something even more transformative. Maps became digital. No more unfolding paper, no more printing, no more expensive charts. Now we have Google Maps, Apple Maps, OpenStreetMap, 3D building views, live traffic, street-level imagery. You can zoom into any street in almost any part of the world within seconds. Knowledge that once belonged only to emperors is now free for every person on Earth. The map is no longer a tool, it is a platform for life itself. Today, maps extend beyond geography. Scientists create maps of the human brain, billions of neural pathways, the internet, cables and servers, climate change, shifting temperatures, human behavior, movement and population patterns, outer space, galaxies and exoplanets. We now map the invisible world. We map things we cannot touch or even fully understand. Maps have become, so what comes next? We are entering an age of checkmark AI, predicting the world checkmark AR, overlaying maps on reality, checkmark real-time Earth scanning, no delay between event and map, personalized navigation, maps built uniquely for each person in the future. Your car won't need directions. Your phone will know where you want to go. Maps might predict disasters before they happen. We may even map other planets for life. Humanity's next maps will guide us to new worlds. Let's step back for a moment. Thousands of years ago, a hunter carved scratches into bone to help his people survive the next season. Those simple symbols started a chain reaction leading to satellites, digital navigation, and knowledge shared across billions of minds. Maps gave humans freedom, safety, exploration, understanding, power, connection. They allowed us to shrink the world while expanding our imagination. Every journey we take, every city we build, every culture we discover began with a question: what is out there? And every map we draw is humanity's answer. So thank you for watching this chapter of Genesis of Genius. The story of maps isn't just about land or borders. It's about every single step humans have taken toward curiosity and courage. If you enjoyed this episode and want to continue exploring the inventions that built our world, make sure to subscribe, like the video, comment which invention we should cover next. Share this documentary with someone who loves history and science, because together we can keep expanding the map of human knowledge. Until next time, stay curious.